to iBerkshiresTV. I'm your host, Jeff Sununian, and we've got a fantastic show for you today. We'll be chatting with Hoosick River Revival Executive Director Jason LaForest on the progress of this ambitious project. We also have Southwestern Vermont Medical Center giving us a glimpse into what it entails to be the team doctor for the North Adams Steeple Cats. But first, here are your latest headlines as being reported by your local news source, iBerkshires.com. This is, of course, the season for budgets and graduations. You can find all the graduation news and photos on iBerkshire.com's Berkshire County Yearbook. The county's biggest city, Pittsfield, approved its $160 million budget. It represents nearly a $7 million increase, mostly driven by schools and health insurance. The city is seeing a notable increase in state aid for schools to offset the increase. North Adams, however, is not ready to approve its budget of $40.8 million. The council wants a further review, specifically when it comes to spending on infrastructure and maintenance. The town of Lanesboro also approved its budget this week. The $10.7 million spending plan is decreasing from last year after new town manager Kelly Robbins found a number of areas to trim costs in her first budget proposal. Town meeting approved a total of 35 warrant articles, including seeking options for a new police station and renovations to the community room to support the Council on Aging. The town of Williamstown needs to find another member for the Mount Greylock Regional School Committee after member Joe Bergeron resigned. The Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts is launching a new Institute for the Arts and Humanities program intended to further the college's mission of inclusion, diversity, and equity. The program is funded through a $360,000 Andrew W. Mellon Foundation grant. In good news today, State Senator Adam Hines was given the Community Hero Award from Berkshire Community Action Council for his advocacy in addressing poverty. In election news, Pittsfield Councilor Donna Todd Rivers has decided not to seek re-election, and former Councilor Jonathan Lothrop is looking to return to the seat. Lothrop got a jump start on the election Tuesday night by announcing his desire to re-enter the ring. Patrick Cavey has also taken out nomination papers for the seat. In sports, the Lee High School girls tennis team Tuesday won its second straight Western Massachusetts Division III title, and the Steeple Cats are off to a hot start this season, starting 4-0. We'd like to thank our main sponsor, Southwestern Vermont Medical Center, and after a short break, we'll be joining them, along with new Steeple Cats GM Matt Torra, at Joe Wolf Field to talk with the team and Dr. Suk Namkoong, the team physician, about what it's like to keep these guys, and also you and I, healthy for the field.
I fell on the court while I was training. I broke my wrist. What was going to happen to me? Would I ever be able to play tennis again? Would I recover fully? I went immediately to Southwestern Vermont Medical Center.
When Deb first came to the office, she had a lot of anxiety. It was clear just from the x-rays that she would require surgery to help correct the fracture.
With all the hard work and the great care that I got from Dr. Namkoong, I'm back. Partnership is powerful medicine.
I'm Matt Torra, General Manager with the North Adams Steeple Cats. I grew up in Pittsfield, Mass. Went to Pittsfield High School. From there I went to University of Massachusetts, played baseball there. Had the opportunity to play with Torrington Twisters, part of the NECBL. Got to come up here, pitch against the Steeple Cats in the 2003 season. Then I continued on my career. I was drafted in the first round by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Played professionally for 9 years. After that, I retired, came back to the Berkshires, and now have the opportunity to be the general manager of the team. For a lot of these players, just having the chance to continue their baseball experience throughout the summer, it's a great chance for them to maybe try to develop a new pitch or working on something at the plate and continue to grow as a fielder as well.
I'm Suk Namkoong, SVMC orthopedic surgeon and team physician for North Adams Steeple Cats. I grew up in New Jersey. I went to school at Princeton and then did my med school training at NYU. I did my residency training at Stony Brook in Long Island, and then I went back to NYU for a sports medicine fellowship. I've been working up here since 2004, and I've been the team physician for the Steeple Cats since 2005. Well, first thing I do is check in, make sure there are any problems, check in with the manager, the other EMTs that are here at the game. Usually if there was a prior injury beforehand, they'll alert me so I know what to expect. Depending on the scheduling of the games, Sometimes they would see me in the office already, but usually I'm here to make sure everyone's feeling good.
When we were working on the schedule this winter, we really wanted to make it a fun night at the park each night. You get a family of 4, they come out to the ballpark, and for $50 they can all get into the game, have a hot dog, sausage. We have a nightly special, and get some drinks and be able to be up close and personal with the players. Great group of kids this year. We got 31 players currently here. 28 of them are from a Division I school. They just have really gelled well. When you bring a bunch of kids together for a short summer season, you hope that they get along great, and that's exactly what these kids have done.
All these kids, they've been playing baseball their entire lives. They have a routine. When they come here for the summer, it's key that they try to keep that routine and not try to change that for the difference in the location, whether it's from college. My goal is to keep them healthy, try to get them back to school in one piece and not worse than when they came here. The key thing is you want to find what works. For someone, it's taking a 5-10 minute walk. Others, it's taking a 30-minute bike ride. The key is trying to find what works and that interests you. Otherwise, it becomes a hassle. SVMC Orthopedics, we have both operative and non-operative means of trying to get you back to that active lifestyle. Sitting on a couch really does you no good. Staying active helps with your blood pressure, your blood sugars, your mental sanity, and our goal is to try to get you back to that.
Southwestern Vermont night is going to be July 13th, which is part of Parents Weekend. Which will be a great experience for the fans to see the host families that are taking care of these kids, the families of the players that are going to come up and see and get to know the host families as well. So that'll be a fun weekend.
I'd like to thank Dr. Namkoong and Matt Torra for joining us from Joe Wolf Field. Now we go to iBerkshire's editor, Tammy Daniels.
Welcome to another segment of iBerkshire's Download, where we speak to the people and projects who are impacting Berkshire County. Our guest is Jason LaForest, Executive Director of the Hoosick River Revival, an ambitious plan to renovate the waterway that flows through the center of North Adams. Could you give us a little background on the Hoosick River Revival?
The Hoosick River Revival was an initiative begun by Judy Grinnell and a host of sponsors about 10 years ago, after Judy recognized that the flood control system in North Adams was both unsightly and seemingly in need of a facelift.
Well, there's been a lot of concern about taking out the flood control chutes. I mean, it's been interesting that North Adams has sort of grew up around the river because it used it in industrial purposes and for transportation. And then it became sort of wild in the beginnings of the last century. We had a number of really destructive floods, and so suddenly it was contained in these concrete chutes. Now, there's concern, obviously, that taking down the chutes will put the city at risk again. But now the idea is to sort of live with the river. And how does the River Revival, how does that concept work?
Sure. So there's a couple of really great points there. One is there is no real plan to remove the flood control chutes per se. However, we recognize, and even the Army Corps recognizes, that the way flood control is managed in the 21st century is very different than the way it was in the 1930s and 40s when these flood control chutes were engineered and the construction began. So if they were to put in, if there were no flood control system right now and the Army Corps were to come in, they would be putting in a system that looks very different than the concrete flood control chutes that we've known over the last 70 years. But there are some really great opportunities to both repair the existing flood control chutes and make the river more accessible and safer for the residents of North Adams.
And where's the first step in this project? Where is that going to be located?
So the Army Corps of Engineers asked us to begin at one end of the system or the other. So with our very good and generous partners, our technical advisors at the Division of Ecological Restoration, it's part of Massachusetts Fish and Game, we have created a conceptual design for a revised river and accompanying ball fields along the Knoll Fields corridor. Sasaki Associates, a major international design firm, has created some great schematics, some great designs, and these pay very close attention to the hydraulic and hydraulic also flow of the river.
Okay. And this area we're talking about is by the Knollfield Athletic Complex, which some people may realize is where Joe Wolf Field is, where the baseball stadium is. And it's undergoing a complete transformation over the last several years.
Yes.
Where they've been new courts in there, the skate park, and all this. And so part of the plans have been for the river are, acknowledge that this new work has been done down through this area to make it really a place for the people of North Adams and surrounding communities to come and to recreate.
Yes.
And so it's all this whole design to allow people to sort of interact with the river, I guess is the word.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Because right now there's these huge berms. That's because there's no concrete down that end.
Right.
It's these giant berms that come down. And I remember when there was the duck race a year or so ago. It was kind of difficult.
Sure. Yeah.
to sort of see how that worked. But so this plan is sort of, if I remember correctly, it's sort of like stepped. Is that correct?
In some areas.
In some areas?
Yes.
So you'll be able to actually get down to the river, but it'll be so the river, when it gets high, can sort of overflow.
Yes. Yeah, essentially. So we would be returning the sort of natural floodplain to the river, removing the earthen berms, but the same level of flood protection would exist. It would just look very different, allowing safe access to the river. The river really is the reason that North Adams is where it is, beginning in the 1730s, 1740s, and then we know we have a rich industrial heritage. But the mitigation of flood risk, the flood control chutes, took the river away from the city completely. So people really only think about the river when it's at high capacity. Day to day we don't really see the river or look at the river. But I think the tourists hotel and project on the west end of town really speaks to how we can integrate the river into our daily lives. So the Phase 1 project along Knoll Field makes the river part of the athletic complex, and it ties that entire area into the downtown commercial center.
So you're also having to partner with a number of other stakeholders in there. You talked about Mass Wildlife. Along that area, there's also plans for the Railroad Museum, the Extreme Model Railroad and Architecture Museum, correct? And you recently had to sign a document with them about the use along that line, right?
Yep.
Now, and how did that work?
So we're sort of going to move the river a little bit. It'll go back to its original course, essentially. So we're going to allow the river to function as a river, allow fish. The Hoosick River has one of the only confirmed breeding native brook trout populations in the state. So it's, in terms of fish and wildlife, it's a very important river. But so to your point, yes. So we worked with EMRCA, Tom Krenz, the Model Railroad and Contemporary Architecture Museum, on an agreement, a working agreement, so that one portion, I think it's about 8,800 square feet, just a tiny little bit of land, would be available to us on the south end of their property, the old Sons of Italy property, to allow actually an extension. We talk about, there's a misconception that we want to take out the flood control system. We actually want to extend the wall on the east side of the river, but that will allow us to make the rest of the river in that area accessible. Yeah. So it's a great project. It'll include upgrades to all of the ball fields that so many organizations use. And in addition to EMRCA, the scenic railway goes through there. The bike path eventually, the Mass DOT bike path, the Ashwiltacook Trail will come through there. I know there are plans for extending the hiking trail circuit through that area, and it will be accessible to MCLA and all of the residents and visitors to the city.
So there's a lot of working parts to this to make this
there really is,
work with these partnerships. So as you pointed out, it's been almost a decade. since the first conception
Yes.
to get to this point. So what is the next step for the revival?
Well, this is a big project. These are very long projects, and projects of this scope sometimes take 30 to 50 years to reach completion. And it is sort of a novel project because typically you don't see the removal of an existing flood control. You see, the introduction of flood control, but this would actually remove the Army Corps' design in that one area. We're only talking about a half mile of river.
Right.
We're not talking about the whole system. We're not talking about downtown. And it would replace it with 21st century technology. So obviously, this sounds expensive, and it is expensive. We're looking at approximately a $30 million project just for that half mile corridor. And we're working on a series of state and federal funding options to reach completion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big step.
It's a big step, yeah, but an important one for the city.
So right now you're going through a lot of permitting processes, and is that even started, the permitting process?
We haven't started the permitting process.
Okay.
We're still working with Division of Ecological Restoration and primarily Sasaki and a couple of their subcontractors to get the design to a 60% design phase, at which point the Army Corps of engineers will review the design. They'll make some tweaks to it, and it will go back out for completion to get it to 100% design phase. So as you know, we have had a lot of rain the last 6 or 8 weeks. Mayor Bernard referred to it as monsoon season in North Adams last night, and that's pretty appropriate. So we've had some surveyors working on the property along Knoll Field and the Sons of Italy property, and they've actually been doing some in-channel survey. This is a very, very scientific approach. This isn't just, we're not just going in and taking out the flood control. There's a very scientific methodology to flood control. But unfortunately, they haven't been able to get into the river because the water's been a little high. So we're finishing up that work right now, and we'll have a report and an augmented design available sometime this summer.
Do you have a projected start time?
Not at this point. It's still a pretty lengthy process between the Army Corps review. Peer review will happen after that, and then we'll have to continue to work on the funding sources to
So this is a
complete
few
this
years
project.
out at least.
I will have more gray hairs when this is completed. Yes. Yeah.
So, well, we're hoping to see some work done before we retire, right?
I would like to. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
But this is a huge project, even though it's only this one section, and we're hoping to see that come to fruition.
Yeah, it's a critical project for the city. We do need to start at one end of the other, as I said, but there's a lot of repair work that needs to be done throughout the system, and we are working on that also.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's been an interesting conversation, and we'll have to bring you back and do some updates as we
Great.
go along with this, so people don't forget that it's happening.
Okay.
Because a lot of work is going on behind the scenes.
Absolutely,
that
yes.
we don't know about. And we'll be back after a brief message from our sponsors.
Okay, Pittsfield, get ready for the toughest 2 minutes in sports. On June 14th through the 15th, 2019, this parking lot will look like this. The 2019 3M Scott Firefighter Combat Challenge is coming to Berkshire Crossing in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Come to Berkshire Crossing for a fun day for the whole family. Watch your heroes race and check out the kids course, food trucks, and fire safety demonstrations. This event is presented by Lenco Rescue Vehicles and Berkshire Bank. The Kids Crawl, Drag, and Squirt course is presented by Greylock Federal Credit Union and free to children ages 3 through 12. Register for the 2019 3M Scott Firefighter Combat Challenge today.
Welcome back to iBerkshiresTV. The weather this weekend is looking okay, with a few showers possible here and there. On Friday and Saturday, the Berkshires will be the host of the Firefighters Challenge at Berkshire Crossing. The race tests firefighters on 5 different skills, and competitors travel a good distance to take place. The event is free and is expected to draw a great crowd. The 3rd annual Berkshire Pride Festival will be held at Pittsfield's First Street Common on Saturday. Pittsfield's Resource Recovery Committee will start its review of a proposed ordinance regarding trash collection. The issue has been a heated one in the city as officials look to cap the amount of trash a homeowner can throw away. Lanesboro voters go to the polls on Tuesday. There is a race for Board of Selectmen between incumbent Robert Erickson and Gordon Hubbard. Go to iBerkshiresTV for candidate profiles. Polls will be open on Tuesday until 8 o'clock. iBerkshires is also trying to find answers as to why 2 Pittsfield firefighters resigned after a report claims they had falsely claimed residency to get a boost in the civil service exam. So far, city officials have been tight-lipped about it. In the courts, the controversial glamping proposal in North Adams will be litigated. iBerkshires will be following that case as it unfolds. Mass MoCA Director Joseph Thompson will also be in court, facing charges in relation to a fatal motorcycle accident. We'd like to give a huge thanks to our sponsors, Southwestern Vermont Medical Center, for their support of the show. This was the first of many, and we're going to leave you with some entertainment. Here is the band Voyage from their recent performance at the Stationery Factory in Dalton.
Guys, thank you for being with us. We'll see you soon.